Chapter 15. Athanasius and Paul, going to Rome and having obtained letters from Bishop Julius, recovered their respective dioceses. Athanasius, meanwhile, after a lengthened journey, at last reached Italy. The western division of the empire was then under the sole power of Constans, the youngest of the Constantine's sons. His brother Constantine having been slain by the soldiers, as was before stated. At the same time also Paul, Bishop of Constantinople, Asclepius of Gaza, Marsilius of Ancyria, a city of the Lesser Galatia, and Lucius of Andropolis, having been accused on various charges and expelled from their several churches, arrived at the imperial city. There each laid his case before Julius, Bishop of Rome. He, on his part, by virtue of the Church of Rome's peculiar privilege, sent them back again into the east, fortifying them with commendatory letters, and at the same time restored to each his own place, and sharply rebuked those by whom they had been deposed. Relying on the signature of the Bishop Julius, the bishops departed from Rome and again took possession of their own churches, forwarding the letters to the parties to whom they were addressed. These persons, considering themselves treated with indignity by the reproaches of Julius, called a council at Antioch, assembled themselves, and dictated a reply to his letters, as the expression of the unanimous feeling of the whole synod. It was not his province, they said, to take cognizance of their decisions in reference to any whom they might wish to expel from their churches, seeing that they had not opposed themselves to him when Novotus was ejected from the church. These things the bishops of the Eastern Church communicated to Julius, Bishop of Rome, but as on the entry of Athanasius into Alexandria, a tumult was raised by the partisans of George the Arian, in consequence of which, it is affirmed, many persons were killed, and since the Arians endeavored to throw the whole odium of this transaction on Athanasius as the author of it, it behooves us to make a few remarks on the subject. God, the judge of all, only knows the true causes of these disorders, but no one of any experience can be ignorant of the fact that such fatal accidents are for the most part concomitants of the factious movements of the populace. It is vain, therefore, for the culminators of Athanasius to attribute the blame to him, and especially Sabinius, bishop of the Macedonian heresy. For had the latter reflected on the number and magnitude of the wrongs which Athanasius, in conjunction with the rest who hold the doctrine of consubstantiality, had suffered from the Arians, or on the many complaints made of these things by the synods, convened on account of Athanasius, or in short, on what that arch-heretic Macedonius himself has done throughout all the churches, he would either have been wholly silent, or, if constrained to speak, would have spoken more plausible words instead of these reproaches. But as it is intentionally overlooking all these things, he willfully misrepresents the facts. He makes, however, no mention whatever of the hierarch desiring all means to conceal the daring enormities of which he knew to be guilty, or knew him to be guilty. And what is still more extraordinary, he has not said one word to the disadvantage of the Arians, although he was far from entertaining their sentiments. The ordination of Macedonius, whose heretical views he had adopted, he has also passed over in silence. For he mentioned it, he must necessarily have recorded his impieties, also which were most deficiently manifested on that occasion. Let this suffice on the subject.